Hey everyone, welcome to the PCS-Proof Podcast, where we're covering the vital things you need to know to thrive in every season of military life. I'm your host and milspouse fitness expert, Grace Barnick-Damazo, and I encourage you to join me each week as we dive deep into topics like fitness, wellness, and entrepreneurship as a military spouse so that you can maintain your own sense of identity and purpose, conquering every transition with strength and resilience. As we journey together, you can expect uplifting conversations and insights. We'll share some laughs, and you can count on me to keep it real so that together we can become truly PCS-proof. Now let's get into it. Welcome back to the PCS-Proof Podcast. I hope that you had a wonderful Thanksgiving, however you spent it. Hope that you enjoyed your time with loved ones, friends, whoever it was in your life. I hope that you had a really wonderful time and just savored the experience, savored some delicious foods. We had kind of a mellow Thanksgiving or Friendsgiving over here, and it was just cool to see everyone laugh and bring their favorite foods and get to try a little bit of everything. I always love Thanksgiving, so we had a really great time, and I hope you did as well. Let's talk now about December. It's that time of year when so many of us look at our health and fitness goals, and let's be honest, we kind of put a pin in them until January. And I mean, real talk, a lot of us just kind of give up until the new year. And you know what? That's okay. For most people, this season of chaos and holiday cookies and parties, it's a time to hit pause. But let me tell you something. If you're listening to this podcast, you're not like most people. You're not, quote unquote, normal. And I mean that as a compliment. You're a military spouse, or you're an active duty servicewoman. You've mastered the art of thriving in chaos, hacking up your life every few years, adapting to brand new environments, new countries, new languages, and handling challenges that most people couldn't even imagine. So you're already wired to go against the grain, to tackle the big things when the world says, take it easy. So today, we're diving into something that's going to set you apart yet again. Your mindset in December. Because while the rest of the world plans to pump the brakes on their goals, to wait and start or restart in January, you're going to be preparing to excel by mastering your mindset. Because we don't want to start the race already a step behind because we've been sitting back on our heels. We want to start the race with our laces tied and our eyes on the finish line, right? We want to be ready to go on day one. In 2021, I was invited to join my colleague and friend Chris Borda on his podcast to talk about exactly this. Chris is the owner of Yes Fitness in Burlington, Connecticut, and he is an expert on longevity. I re-listened to our conversation recently, and despite the fact that I didn't have as good of a mic back then and the sound quality on my end is a little rough, and despite the fact that I have a few more gray hairs I noticed than I did back in 2021, I was pleasantly surprised to know that everything that we talked about back then is still perfectly aligned with everything that we should be focusing on right now. So I asked Chris if he would allow me to share it with you for our episode today, and he gave his enthusiastic support. So thank you, Chris. This episode is going to be your ultimate end of year / new year pep talk. It's all about dialing in that mindset now so that you're not playing catch up come January 1. So I want you to enjoy listening into our conversation, and then I invite you to head over to my website, fitpathcoaching.com, and join the waitlist for my January Fresh Year, Fresh Start 31-day fitness challenge. This challenge is designed to put into action everything that Chris and I are talking about, plus more. So it's going to help you build the habits that matter most to getting you results. And it's going to take motivation out of the equation, focusing instead on the actions and the behaviors that will inevitably move you forward. It will provide powerful accountability alongside a community of like-minded women just like you. And it's going to break down everything into super simple daily actions that feel effortless. And I'm going to guide you step by step towards your fitness goals without feeling overwhelmed so that you can feel confident that you can keep that momentum going throughout the entire year and beyond. And there's no obligation to buy. I'm not asking you to buy anything, but by getting on the wait list, you're giving yourself the first opportunity to decide if this program is right for you when I open the doors on enrollment at the end of December. So visit fitpathcoaching.com and then click the banner to join the waitlist right now while it's still fresh on your mind, because I know the season's going to get ahead of us really quickly. So do it now. It's fresh on your mind. Just get yourself on the waitlist and give yourself that opportunity. So now that I've shared that, I welcome you to sit back and enjoy my conversation with Chris Borda of Yes Fitness.
Hey, Grace, how are we doing tonight?
Hi, Chris. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Wait a minute. It's night for me. It's
Wednesday day
Wednesday
in
day.
Japan.
Grace
in
is
the
in
future.
Japan right now. Grace definitely is the go-to person for training military wives. That's why she's in Japan. She is a military wife. So tell us what
Yes.
that's about a little bit, training a military wife, because they probably have some different challenges, or do you think they have the same challenges as the people you used to coach in the United States?
That's a good question. I find that there are a lot of similarities, and then there's a huge divergence that is unique to a military spouse. So similarities are that they're busy too. You know, they're raising families. Many of them are also working, whether they're working a normal 9 to 5 or they're, working an entrepreneurial endeavor. So they're busy and they're trying to find time to manage their health and find ways to make that work. And then they also have the unique challenge of up and moving multiple times, sometimes in a year, and having to balance, the challenges of having to move your entire life overseas or across the country. So for them, it's really important that they have a fitness program that works in their day-to-day life, that will fit their lifestyle, and that will also adapt to whatever changes happen. We're also having to deal with occasional deployments. And so, that puts a huge wrench in our routine. We might have a good set routine and then our spouse up and leaves us. So we have to then adapt to different changes in a schedule many times a year often. So some similarities and then some really dramatic differences.
Well, the people that we normally coach here in the United States aren't up and moving that quickly. They're not getting deployed like that, but they certainly have a lot of the same challenges. And we're getting into January right now. We're right at the beginning of January. And what's on everybody's mind? The first thing is, what am I going to try to accomplish in 2021? Because 2020 for many people was a washout. Mm-hmm. Like they just could not get any kind of traction, no grip. They couldn't figure out what they wanted to accomplish. They didn't know how to get it accomplished and all those kind of things. So you are, I consider you not just an awesome coach, not just an awesome fitness coach, but like a behavior specialist. You really can help people hone in on what they need to accomplish and how to get that done. So something I hear about all the time right now is goals. How do I set some powerful goals? How do I figure them out and make sure that they're attainable? So how do you talk to your clients about that?
That's a really important point. And like you mentioned, like 2020 was like almost like a wash for a lot of people. It was just like survival mode. I'm burnt out. Like, let me just get to the end of the year. But now 2020 is coming and we get a fresh start. So we're at the beginning of 2021 and clean slate. How do we set some goals and then attain them? So some of the things I talk with my members and clients about is setting goals that are attainable, that you can build some big wins on. So it's really common for most people at the beginning of the year when they're setting their New Year's resolutions to set a huge goal. I want to drop 40 pounds or,
Right.
something that's like really big. I want to run a marathon. And then that's it. That's the end of their goal setting. I have my New Year's resolution. It's going to happen. But what happens is by, the end of January, mid-February, you see a huge drop off in people staying on track with their New Year's resolutions. Like
Right.
studies have shown that by week 3 of January, they drop dramatically. And by week 2 of February, most people quit on their New Year's resolutions. And it's because they didn't set up an actionable plan with attainable goals. So, number one, set a goal that is attainable to you. So, that's what a coach or an expert in that field might really be able to help you with is being able to manage your expectations and set goals that are going to be really attainable. And then to make them actionable. And by that, I mean, break it down into steps that you can do every day. So if I want to lose 40 pounds, one, I need to know where the finish line is. I need to know if it's attainable. Let's say I want to lose it in 6 months. I need to break that down into something that I need to do today that's going to move me that little bit closer so that by the 6-month mark, I am guaranteed to reach my goal. So I work on this with my clients where I'll break it down by the month. So what do I need to do in January? What do I need to do in February and March and so on to get to that 6-month goal? What do I need to do every week in January? And what do I need to do every day in January? And if I break it down into those tiny itty bitty steps and I just focus on what do I need to do today, I don't need to worry about what's going to happen in 6 months. If I just focus on the small steps, the 6-month goal is inevitable, right? So break it down into something that's really doable and just build up those wins, build that momentum.
So if someone is looking to lose 40 pounds in 6 months, would be very aggressive. And people like to make huge, crazy changes, cut this out, cut that out, only do this, only do that, right? What are some of the things that you have seen have been successful when you really break it down to that one day at a time type of thing?
That's a good question. It's the simple stuff. It's the stuff that isn't exciting or, revolutionary. It's not going to be a new trendy thing. It's the simple, basic stuff that makes the big difference. It's about managing your stress levels, drinking water, getting enough sleep, making those little changes in your nutrition that will snowball into something really big. So it might not be exciting, but those fundamental things are what we should all be focusing on to hit our goals.
We've been doing this for a long time now, and we run these challenges 2-3 times a year. And I have this sometimes the same people come into the same challenges. They're different names, but it's all the same stuff, right? And we just sit down, and it comes down to, okay, well, what was the first thing we wanted to try to fix in the last challenge? You need to drink water. Okay. We get to this next challenge. It's not changing. You still need to drink water. We're not changing it. It's not all this crazy stuff that's out there. It's basic stuff that you just need to do, whether it's getting enough sleep, try to take a few minutes each day to de-stress, drink enough water, make sure that your nutrients you're getting in your body are correct, whatever they're supposed to be. And it's just, I'm not going to say that it's easy, because it's not easy, because we've been eating the way that we eat for all our lives, right? But it's that little simple stuff that really just makes a difference. It really makes a difference.
Yeah, and I think you're right in saying like it's simple, but it's not easy.
Right.
So then what we talk about a lot in the challenges and with my members is like, how do you make the simple stuff easier to do and easier to make into, like, ultimately what we should all be working toward is making those into habits so we don't have to think about them. And at first it takes a lot of thought and energy to have to remember to drink enough water or remember to set aside 5 minutes to de-stress or, all those things. So it's simple, but I recognize it's not easy for people. So, then it's important to talk about how do we make it easier.
Probably the easiest thing to do is to get your exercise. I mean, everyone struggles with all these other things, yet they get to the gym and they exercise. And that's always very interesting to me that what people think is going to be the hardest part of it, getting your workouts in, is really ends up being the easiest part of it, because you're being held accountable to us. You have an appointment, you're coming in, we're watching you, we're making sure you get it done. We're talking about these other things that are going on outside the facility. When you're in the facility under our eyes, that's the stuff that we're getting done. So it's always interesting that dynamic occurs, right? So,
right.
The next thing people are talking to us about is willpower. How do I stop doing the things that are holding me back? How am I getting over these barriers? Because I can't do these simple things because they're not easy. How do you handle willpower?
Yeah, willpower is a really interesting concept. And for those of us who have studied it, it's actually, it's easier than we think, but it's a huge struggle for most people. So it's important that we talk about it. So thank you for bringing it up. Willpower is an interesting phenomenon. And in studies, they've shown that willpower is something that is kind of like a battery. And we'll call it a rechargeable battery. So if we don't recharge it, we're kind of going into a day on an empty tank. So things that recharge the battery: rest, like getting enough sleep will help recharge your battery. So ideally you're getting enough sleep that you're going into each day with a full battery, a full willpower battery. So if you're going into your day on a half battery, like, we're going to have some issues. So number one is make sure you charge your battery. Things that will drain our willpower battery are stress. If you have higher levels of stress or high stress environment, high stress job, you're going to be depleting your battery pretty quickly. So that's why, most people start off the day really great. We have great intentions of eating well or drinking our water or getting our workout in. And by 3 p.m. or 5 p.m., things start to derail a little bit. So that's why late night snacking happens often, or people who want to work out after work. It's a lot easier to go home and not work out because we're just drained. We have no willpower left. And another thing that will drain our willpower battery really quickly is if we're constantly being challenged, if our willpower is being challenged. So let's say, I tell myself, I'm not going to eat that bagel or that donut at the office today. And then that bagel or donut is sitting on the counter first thing when we walk through our office door, or it's sitting on the counter in the kitchen. We said, I don't want to eat that. And then every time we walk past that counter or into the kitchen, it's sitting there and we have to look at it and we have to make a conscious decision not to eat it. The more times we have to do that, every time we're just chipping away at our willpower battery and draining it down. So if we're able to go into the day with a full tank, manage our stress, and remove as many of those challenges to our willpower as possible, it's going to help us keep a fuller battery. So when we really need it to show up, when we really need that willpower, it's going to be there. The tank has some willpower left in it, if that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Because you notice when you do get tired or when you're under a lot of stress, you can't make those good decisions, especially when it comes to eating. You just don't make good decisions. And it's amazing how sleep is just so important to so many things. It is to fat loss. It is for your willpower. It is for longevity and clearing your brain out. And because that's really when your brain gets vacuumed out, when your brain gets cleaned out. It's amazing. And sleep is not a priority to us, And
our society has kind of downgraded the importance of sleep. Like, grind, work harder, like you can do it. And really what we should be doing is the opposite.
It's interesting. We use the same software when we coach people, right? We use the Bridge app, and on that app, one of the questions in the performance log every single day when someone comes in to work out is, how much sleep did you get, right? Because it's people look at me cross-eyed sometimes when they're not getting results. And I look back at that log and 5 hours of sleep, 6 hours of sleep, 4 hours of sleep, 6 hours of sleep, five. And I say, you know what you need to do? You don't need to work out harder. You need to sleep more. You need to sleep better. And they look at you cross-eyed like, what are you talking about? I'm function fine on the amount of sleep that I have. When in reality, they don't, because it's causing them to make those bad choices. And as you say, it's wearing down their willpower battery. The battery's an excellent analogy.
Good. I'm glad that hopefully resonated with people. And I agree. I hear that from people all the time is, when can I, or like, how much more exercise do I need to do to get faster results? When, what we could really do is just be efficient with the few workouts that we have and do all the things outside of the gym that are actually going to yield results. So that really saves you a couple hours a week in the gym too.
You can't put that though. You can't have those temptations, whatever they might be. Like you shouldn't bring an alcoholic to a bar, right? You can't put those kinds of foods out there. I have one gentleman that he yo-yos all the time with his weight, does great in our challenges, and then he doesn't. And what happens is he'll get gas and then go inside and just all kinds of goodies in the convenience store. I say, you know what? Pay for the gas at the pump and don't even go in the store. Because you don't have the willpower to not pick up that bag of candy, whatever it might be, or those donuts, whatever it is. Just pay at the pump and don't even go in the store, because it's the same thing. It's like having that bagel or having that candy in the office. It's there. It's just calling out your name. So why do that to yourself? Just don't do it. Just stay away from it.
Why are we setting ourselves up to fail? And you bring up a good point. Eventually, there is a way to increase your battery. Like you could, as you build up your wins, you can level up to a larger battery as you go. And then maybe you have more willpower to then go into the convenience store and say no to stuff. But at the beginning, you have to set yourself up for some wins, some successes. That's what's going to keep the ball rolling. Like, why do we like to be the hero and have to overcome all these challenges?
It's interesting in sports. They'll say that a team needs to learn how to win. You need to do little things and build on it and build on it and build on it until you can really learn and understand how to win. And it sounds like almost the same thing here with willpower. You need these little wins to build on it. And over time, you're going to be able to win and overcome some of those barriers and the things that are holding you back from being successful.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like start small, build some wins, get some wins under your belt, and that will snowball. Yeah.
So times get tough and they don't overcome their willpower, and it becomes a challenge. And they say, you know what? I'm just not motivated, Chris. How do I stay motivated? It's so hard for me to stay motivated from now to whatever the 6-month period of time might be for me to achieve my goal. It's a long time to stay motivated, right? So how do you help your clients stay motivated?
Really good question. Especially if we're now at the beginning of a new year and we are talking about New Year's resolutions, because we're all really motivated right now. It's the beginning of the year, fresh start, super motivated, excited. Let's get some goals. And then life starts to happen and our motivation starts to wane. I personally would like to see the fitness and health industry start to move away from the idea of motivation. And I know it's pervasive. We talk about motivation all the time. I know it's not going away. That wouldn't be realistic to say, let's stop talking about motivation, but I'd like to move away from it, because motivation, it moves like this. It moves like a wave. Sometimes we have it. Sometimes it doesn't show up for us. So if we're relying on motivation to achieve our goals or to show up for us when we need it, we're going to be disappointed, and it's going to make it really painful and hard for us to stay on track. So I like to kind of move away from talking about motivation and talk about the other things that are going to get us to do something even when motivation isn't there. So kind of like eliminating motivation from the equation. So things that we could focus on, and this is going off of a lot of research, but the primary person who studies this and is the expert in motivation science is a professor at Stanford. His name is Dr. BJ Fogg. So this is straight from scientific backing. He studies this. This is his thing. And he talks about tiny habits. So this concept of having little habits and attaching them to a habit that is already established. So if we want to establish a new behavior to become a habit, a really easy way to do that is to attach it to something we already know we're going to do. So let's say I wanted to drink a glass of water. I want to drink more water throughout the day. So how do I drink more water throughout the day? I'm going to attach drinking a glass of water to something I already know I'm going to do. And let's say I know I'm going to walk into my kitchen a lot throughout the day. And we're all working, most of us are working from home, so we're probably close to the kitchen. We're probably going to go in there a couple times throughout the day. If I put a glass of water right on the counter and I make sure it's full all the time, and I tell myself, after I walk into the kitchen, so that's the first piece, after I walk into the kitchen or whatever that behavior is, I am going to drink half of that glass of water. So I've tied a new behavior to an existing behavior. And I know I'm going to do that behavior many times throughout the day. So without really having to put a lot of energy into it, I am establishing that new behavior that I want, that I know is going to help me get closer to my goals. And you could apply this to a lot of different things. That's just one example. I could say after I wake up in the morning, that's the first piece, I am going to put on my gym clothes, which I've already laid out in advance. And after I put on my gym clothes, I'm going to go straight into the living room and I'm going to do my workout. I don't have any choice in between there. It's just follow the steps and a domino effect will happen.
Right.
The other piece of it is having a really well-defined trigger or a reminder that will get you to do that thing. And a trigger is really unique to the person. So I'll give you some examples, but you'll really have to kind of it's an experiment to find out what works really well for you. And with my members, we'll try something and it's an experiment. So we try it out for a week. If it works, fabulous. We keep doing it. If it doesn't seem to work, we find another trigger that's unique to them and then move from there. So some triggers may be a reminder or an alarm on your phone. And on that alarm, it says, drink water.
Right.
Some may be something a little bit bigger. A trigger could be my coach is waiting for me at the gym. So I'm going to make sure to show up to the gym because my coach is waiting for me. So having an accountability piece built into it is really helpful. So those are just some examples. And every designed behavior change model is unique to the person. So that's why it's really helpful to work with a coach or someone that's kind of outside of you, a third party that can kind of give you some outside guidance or perspective about you and your goals and your behaviors.
That's some great advice, because I know people always try to tie their motivation into their goal, and then they're looking at their goal that's 6 months down the road, and it's so hard to get a grip around, get a grip on that. Oh, geez, I don't really feel like getting to the gym today. I'm never going to be able to get this done. It's 4 months down the road. They haven't built those little things. They haven't built for their willpower. They haven't gotten those little things in place to attain their goals. And now they don't have those little habits in place to build this motivation. It all really pieces together in the success of attaining a goal.
Yeah. Well, I'll also say too, Chris, that sometimes people, when we're tying everything to motivation, that's like half of it. The other half of it is, how do we make it easier for ourselves? So, if you're super, super motivated to do something, it doesn't matter how hard it is to do it. You're probably going to find a way to do it. Like if something's super exciting, like I really want to go on vacation, you're going to go out of your way to clear the path to make sure you go on vacation or whatever that big thing is you want to do. But when things are hard, like starting a fitness or a health routine, and you're not motivated, there is almost nothing that you can do about it. Like there's just too much in front of you.
Right.
And I'll
Right.
flip that to the other side where if it's something you don't want to do, like let's say there's an unhealthy behavior that you don't want to do this year. So instead of focusing on something you do want to do, something you want to stop doing, you can use that formula in the inverse to help you stop doing it.
Right.
So we can make it harder, put more barriers in front of you to help you stop doing that behavior that may be holding you back from your ultimate goals.
So if we put all this information together, what would you say? What do you talk to your clients about? The 3 essentials that you have to have a successful health and fitness routine.
This is key as well. I mean, again, it's not sexy. It's not super exciting and new and trendy. They're the basics, but they've been proven to work. So let's not fix what's not broken. The 3 things that we all need to make sure that we're successful this year, next year, whatever goals we want are simple. 3 things. 1, have a program. Kind of like what we talked about at the beginning of the podcast is like really break down, here's my big goal. How do I break this down into a daily, a weekly, and a monthly goal that's attainable and something that's just so easy to do? It's going to have very little friction. So have a plan and a program in place. That's the nice thing about having like something like the bridge. One of my members' favorite things I hear from them all the time is it's so nice to go into the gym and I have my fitness workout program on my phone. I don't have to think about it. I just go in, I turn on my workout and I just go through it. No brain power necessary, and they get a great workout. So something like that, you have the program laid out for you. You don't have to think about it. Number 2 would be focus on your mindset. So we've talked so much about mindset today. Focus on willpower. How can I increase my willpower and how can I keep my battery full? And that comes down to those simple things, make sure you get enough sleep, enough water, de-stress, all those simple things make a big difference. And then we talked a little bit about focusing on other things other than motivation to keep you going even when motivation is low. And then the third thing, and this is something that we've all been missing this year, which is community. 2020 has made people feel, in some ways more connected. Thank God for Zoom and other, digital platforms. But it's also taken a lot of us away from our gym community and those people that make us feel like we're not alone in our health and fitness path, which we're not. We're all kind of on the same journey together, but we're so isolated now that we're working out at home or, working out on an app. So finding a community of people that are going to make you feel like you're not alone and make you feel encouraged. And there's something so encouraging about encouraging other people too. So, it's a community thing where you're supporting other people, but that also helps you feel really good and supported and like you want to keep going. So finding whatever way you can to find others on the same path and really encourage and, feed energy in, and you're going to get that energy back, and that's going to help you keep going. It's way more fun to do with other people.
I believe its community is what has kept Yes Fitness in business in 2020. The family of feeling of just being welcome when you come to work out, even though you've never worked out there before, and just that feeling that other people are in the same boat as you and they've been through it, and it's friendly and it's encouraging. I really believe that, I've been in this 23 years now, and it's because those 23 years When you drive by my gym at 4:30 in the afternoon or whatever, 9:30 in the morning, we got cars in front of it. And I've been driving by other guys' places and dark, just darkness. It's because of community. You talked about program a minute ago, which is interesting. I don't think people really understand what coaches like us do. So I started working. They really don't. They have no idea. I have two quick stories. One, I started working in another facility to help make ends meet. And I know the owners so that, they let me coach some of their people there. And I go there twice a week. So our programs are set up for twice a week. And there's a young man that I'm coaching that was working out 5 days a week with this other coach. And he was working on more of a split program. Okay, this day I'm going to do chest and triceps. Next day I'm going to do legs. And after I do back and biceps and all that kind of stuff. So they're so itchy to do workouts on these other days. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I said, you really don't need to, but if you want to, go ahead. But this is what we're going to do. So he's been struggling. He could only do one set of 8 reps of a bench press at 135. His second set, he's down to 6 reps. His third set, he's down to 4 reps. So this is when I started working with him a couple months ago. So the other day, he was able to do 4 sets, 8 reps at 135. And I just looked at him and said, dude, this is why I do what I do. I don't just write workouts. We write programs, right? We have an end. We have an end of what we're trying to accomplish. And this is what we need to do to get to that end. And my landlord's 2 sons came into town and they said they wanted to work with me a couple of days. I don't really do that, but for my landlord, I'll take care of them, right? Because they think they're just going to come in and we're going to put them through a workout. And the first thing we did was I put him on our in-body scan. I took a look at his body composition. I said, what's your goal? What are you trying to accomplish here? And from there, I kind of tried to, I can't teach him how to program in 3 or 4 hours, right? But I started to get him to think about, you know what, if this is what I'm trying to do, then I need to be doing these kind of things to get to that. It's not just coming into the gym and, okay, so today I'm going to do bench and I'm going to do biceps and triceps. He did 4 different exercises of 4 sets of chest, and then 2 different exercises, 2 or 3 sets on his triceps. And I'm like, are you getting anywhere? Because you've been doing this for a while. And he goes, not really. I'm not really any stronger. I says, this is why, because you're just doing a workout, man. You need to have a program. You need to have a plan in place to be able to get to what you want to do, whether it's getting stronger, whether it's getting faster, fitter, losing fat, getting toned, whatever it is, you need to have a plan in place. It's probably one of the most important things. When I sit down and talk to someone about their nutrition, and I literally say, there's 5 P's to fat loss. And the number 1 is a plan. We need to sit down and we need to write out what you're going to eat for this whole week. Because now you need to be able to go to the store and purchase the right products. And then we're going to prepare them in the right portion sizes and all that kind of stuff. But without that beginning plan, you have no idea.
Yes.
You have no idea. So
I love that you took the words right out of my mouth. We don't write workouts. We write programs.
a program.
And there's a couple different reasons for that. But if nothing else, it works.
It works.
But if you want to know more about it, the other big thing about it is that if you don't have a structure to it, you have nothing to measure against. Mm-hmm. So if you are doing random workouts and then you're not getting results, how do you know what worked and what didn't work? You have no measuring stick. If you have a structured program, we can look back and we can manipulate tiny, tiny bits,
Exactly.
And then it's just tweaking. And I know, I haven't always been a trainer. Before I started training, I was just another person wanting to get fit. And I remember walking into a gym and literally having no idea what to do. And that's when you start kind of gravitating toward maybe what you know or what you just like, which isn't necessarily going to get you results. And so that's why we kind of fall into these patterns of just doing a couple things that make us feel like we know what we're doing, which is great, Or if you were like me, I would walk in and I would go straight to the elliptical or the treadmill because that's all I knew. And then I would walk right out and not get results and also not feel encouraged and motivated to go back. Um, so, yeah, you don't have to know everything about programming. It does take time to learn that. And I always like to teach my members a little bit as we go so that they feel like they have some ownership and empowerment. But also, there's all these great coaches like you who have spent the last 20 plus years learning this stuff. And so you get to tap into some knowledge as one of your members that they don't have to spend 20 years to learn.
Exactly.
You don't have to think about it. So save yourself some bandwidth and some brain power and some time and energy and just work with someone who's already spent all that time doing it.
Time doing it, right? I always say, you can do accounting on your own, but you might as well hire an accountant, right? I mean, you could become a surgeon if you want to, but you might as well just hire the surgeon. I mean, that's the thing.
Unless it's something that you like seriously love and that's something that you want to study, and great, go for it. But we don't all, there's a lot of things I want to study. Do I have the time and the energy to do it? No. Is it better money spent and time spent just hiring someone to do it? Yes.
Yeah. So why don't you wrap up for us, Grace, what we talked about here a little bit as far as goals, willpower, motivation, and that.
I think the big things that we just need to be really focusing on this year is how do we make things easier to win at? Mm-hmm. So I want everyone who's listening to this to hear that there is a way to be really successful, and it's simpler than you think. If it's not sexy and exciting, you're probably doing close to the right thing. So just focusing on the basics this year and building up some wins. So when I do challenges, I will focus on one thing a week. And, you don't have to go from 0 to 100. So pick one thing this week that's going to move you closer to your goals, that's easy. It might be something you're already halfway doing, and build that up. So I want you to master that this week. And then next week, add something else on, add something else that's simple on, that's going to move you closer to your end goal, but you're still able to easily do. And then each week you kind of add on a little bit, and you might tweak a little bit each week. So it might not be something completely new, but just tweak it. And all those things are going to add up to something really big. So just trust the process. Make it simple, make it easy to do, keep your batteries full, and just trust the process.
Great advice. I mean, you gave us some awesome advice tonight, Grace. I got a lot of notes. I'm going to have to go back and watch this and take some notes down because it's going to help me become a better coach. And I'm hoping the people that listen to this really just understand that easy things, build on it, win, and before you know it, you'll be where you want to be. It's just great advice tonight. Thank you. I really appreciate you taking time from your day to talk to us. We have a little bit of a working relationship. We meet once a week and we do discuss things. And I was just really super excited about having you come on tonight because I knew you would just crush it, which you did. So
thank you, Chris. And yeah, that's a really good example. Even coaches and trainers use accountability and community to make sure that we stay on track as well.
Yeah, every week we hop on board and we make it work. You're in Japan, so it's morning for you and it's nighttime for me. But I don't think we've missed a week since we started doing this year. No, because accountability.
It's good accountability.
we both make sure we get done what we're supposed to get done before these shows. So it's good stuff. So yeah. So again, thank you very much. I really appreciate you coming on board with us. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks. And I'll be talking to you soon. Bye-bye.
I really hope that you enjoyed that conversation as much as I did getting to chat with Chris. And I hope that you walked away with several tips and tricks that you can start to implement for yourself right now. So today we're talking about really flipping the script on the December slump that everyone else is falling into, and how military spouses and women in military life like us are anything but ordinary. We're planners, we're doers, and we know how to tackle challenges head on, even when life throws us curveballs. even when we're dealing with chaos. So now it's time to take what you learned today and put it into action. Start thinking about those small, intentional steps that you can take today and this month to set yourself up for success in the new year. Because while the rest of the world might wait until January 1st, you're already ahead of the game. You're crafting a plan, you're building those habits, and you're prioritizing recharging your willpower batteries. And the easiest next step that you can take to really supercharge your results in 2025 and really solidify these habits, these skills for success is to visit fitpathcoaching.com, my website, right now, and click on the banner to join the waitlist for Fresh Year, Fresh Habits. I'll link it in the show notes as well. Remember, there's zero obligation to join, but you're going to want to get on the waitlist and be the first in line when enrollment opens at the end of this month because I always reward action takers like you. If you found this episode valuable, helpful, I'd love it if you could share it with someone in your circle who could use a little motivation right now to close out the year strong or start 2025 strong as well. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. I've got plenty more to come in 2025. Until next time, keep thriving, keep pushing forward, don't pump the brakes. Remember, you've got this. Thanks for listening. I will see you on the next episode of the PCS-Proof Podcast. And remember, no matter where in the world military life sends you, together we are PCS-Proof. Adios. And here is the legal language. This podcast is for informational purposes only and is not intended to replace professional advice. The views expressed in this podcast may not be those of the host or fitpathcoaching.com. Moreover, we are not responsible for any losses, damages, or liabilities that may arise from the use of this podcast.